The Iceblade Sorcerer episode 1. I know the anime is not called like that, it's called something else, but I think I will call it like that. The Ice Sorcerer, because it is a little bit more easier than saying the whole name. And this is one of those animes where I wanted to do an episode review of the first episode without knowing if I'm actually going to do a review of the whole anime, because this is one of those animes that it is here and there whether I'm going to do a review or not. Most likely not because it's bad or anything like that, but because the same day the episodes come out, it is the same day that I am also reviewing another anime, which is Danmachi. So because of that, I don't know if I'm going to be reviewing this anime, aside from if it gets good or if it gets bad, because of course if it gets bad I'm probably not going to review it. So yeah, there are a lot of things going into this that make me not be sure if I'm going to be reviewing it or not. Like I said already, most probably not. At the very least, I wanted to do, like I said at the beginning, a review of this first episode, because it was a little bit intriguing. It was not something surprising or something like I haven't seen before. A lot of stuff that I saw in this first episode I have seen in other animes a lot of times. So like I said, it still has some intriguing moments here and there, and the general atmosphere was enough to make me review at least the first episode. Yeah, that is why I wanted to do a review. So talking finally now about the episode, well, you have your main protagonist Ray White, which I said already is the Iceblade Sorcerer, and well, we also see his other friends at the beginning of the episode, and almost at the end when they are shown in the picture, we see that at the beginning that some of them, I suppose you can say, die and others survive. So yeah, there is that. Maybe his new friends in the academy are going to take the place of the grand sorcerers that die, who knows, or if they're not dead, then maybe they are going to be introduced later. So yeah, he has a couple of friends which I suppose you can say are the strongest sorcerers or wizards of this world, of the world that Ray White lives. So yeah, you have his friends, and I suppose you can say almost assuredly that we're going to learn a little bit more about them in the future, when they get introduced a little bit more in detail, because this first episode was just that, telling us a little bit on the surface what exactly is happening with this anime. So of course they're not going to go into detail what exactly are their friends and things like that. So yeah, maybe in the future we will see more of them, especially the ones that were shown at the beginning that are supposedly dead or injured or something like that. So now explaining a little bit more about how the world works, especially the academy. Well, the academy where he is attending is basically an aristocrat academy, or a very, I guess you can say, discriminating academy, because they only accept, or at least at the time only accepted grand wizards, sorcerers, people that were very powerful, or people that come from royalty, people that come from noble families. And of course we have in this episode that Ray White is actually the first person to be an ordinary, to not be this powerful sorcerer and not be from noble family. So yeah, that is basically the whole team of this first episode, and I guess you can say it is going to be the theme throughout the whole 12 or how many episodes it lasts. So yeah, that is basically the whole thematic of the episode. Ray, being in the school, being discriminated against because he's an ordinary, which of course we have seen this in other animes. This is not something new, but it is still pretty interesting to see being adapted in other animes. So yeah, I don't mind it very much if it's been done in the past. And right in the middle of the episode we get an explanation of how exactly this world works, in which it is explained that there are 5 basic, you can say, titles or levels, or basically stages to being a sorcerer, to being a wizard, and they are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and grand. But apparently grand you cannot really get there. You can, but it is only exclusive to 7 people, to 7 sorcerers. I'm saying wizard a lot, but in reality the proper name to use in this anime will be sorcerer. It is a really hard word to pronounce for me, I don't know why, but yeah. And like I said at the beginning, although it is not directly said, most if not all the the grand sorcerers are actually Ray White's friends. So yeah, we see a couple of them introduced in this episode and at the beginning, and even explained a little bit but not that much. Maybe there are vacant positions for the grand sorcerer now that potentially a couple of his friends die at the beginning. I don't think the grand sorcerers are evil, although they are explaining this episode as if there were some mysterious and evil organization, but in reality they're not that. At least that is why I think, because for starters you have a couple of them in the academy, or one at least, which is the principal. So yeah, and now I want to talk a little bit more about Ray White, you know, the main protagonist. And one of the first things I noticed about when watching the episode was his voice actor. Although I didn't know who exactly was the voice actor, when hearing him talk for the first time, I immediately remember a character of another anime I have watched before, and that was a Wayne Owl of one of the last season's anime that premiered, which funnily enough was not one of those animes that, you know, are that grandiose or that spectacular, but I don't know, for some reason I remember his voice being, you know, in that anime. And yeah, that is one of the first things I remember, that he was actually in another anime. And like I said already, it is pretty funny how I remember his voice by another character from another anime that was not that grandiose, instead of remembering his other role, which was actually grandiose, which was Itadori Yuji from Jujutsu Kaisen. It is actually funny how I remember him from Al Wayne from an anime that was premiered in the last season. I think it was called I Improved My Farming Skills, so I got stronger, or something like that, instead of remembering him from Itadori Yuji from Jujutsu Kaisen. I guess you can say it is because his voice, it is more the same when he was Al Wayne than when he was Itadori Yuji. I'm talking about the voice actor, of course. So yeah, that is one of the first things I noticed when watching and hearing especially Ray White. And talking about the personality of Ray White, he is actually a pretty interesting character. A lot of people may say that he's not that interesting because the way he acts, the way he conducts himself is a little bit bland, it's a little bit normal, I guess you can say. But I mean, in a way, that is what makes him a little bit more interesting, because you don't see this type of characters very often in animes, where again the main protagonist just acts normally. You know, he's aware of the situation he's in, he tries to be comprehensible or comprehend other people, and yeah, it's basically a cool character, you know, down to earth and simply acting the way he wants to act, which, like I said already, makes it even a little bit more interesting, because normally you have characters that are very wacky, that are very cold, or in one extreme or another. But in this case we have Ray White, which is actually in the middle, perfectly in the middle. In fact, he even demonstrates a couple of times that he's not afraid, that he's not shy when interacting with women, because, you know, he compliments them and he's not even aware that, in a way, being a little bit flirty. But of course he's not trying to be that, he's just simply that type of character, a normal character that is not afraid to say the things he thinks. So yeah, and I think this is something that we'll see throughout the whole anime, you know, him complimenting girls and being that type of person. Although, like I said already, it is not because he's a flirty guy, it is simply in his nature. He's just a normal character that says whatever he wants to say, and he is not afraid to do it. And besides Ray White, we also got introduced to a couple of characters. For example, we got introduced, I guess you can say, the other main protagonist, which is Amelia. We also got introduced to his, I guess you can say, roommate. We also got introduced, I think her name was Rebecca. We also got introduced to Clarice and Elisa. Elisa being, you know, the blue hair shy girl, and Elisa being the pigtail girl. So yeah, a lot of female characters introduced in this episode. I can see this being one of those animes where the main protagonist is surrounded by a lot of girls, which I think is actually going to be the case in a sort of soft harem or something like that. I know this can put a lot of people off, and even myself, if I'm being honest, because sometimes the harem is so overwhelming that, you know, it kind of ruins the story. This is one of the reasons I don't know if I'm going to be reviewing this anime or not. But yeah, like I said, I guess it will be depending on how they handle the whole soft harem situation going forward. So yeah, I think I said pretty much everything that I wanted to say about the episode. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be reviewing the anime or not, most probably not, but in the case I do review the second or third episode, or even the whole anime, I guess it will be because it is actually good, and I don't care that it is also airing at the same time that Danmachi is. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my review, and well, I guess or not, see you all in the next episode review.